Are you interested in getting residency in Mexico, but you're unsure of what it's going to cost you? Today in this video, I'm going to tell you what amount of money you need to have saved or have as income every month, and the fees you'll have to pay to get residency in Mexico. My name is Rashida Dow, and I'm a career break coach. I help women who want to take a break from their careers and either move abroad, travel long term, or just hang out. And I've lived in Mexico City on and off since 2019. I went through the residency process in 2020, so I have some tips for you to make it easier than it was for me. The most popular way that people get residency in Mexico is through economic solvency. And what that means is that you either have enough money saved or you have enough income coming in each month for the Mexican government to feel comfortable allowing you to live here long term and knowing that you're going to be a productive member of their society and not a drain on the society. The amount of money you need to meet the economic solvency requirements in Mexico is tied to the daily minimum wage for people who work in Mexico. Now, this is 2023. If you're watching this in any time in 2023, these numbers I'm going to tell you today are accurate. But the minimum wage changes in January, late December every year. And so every year, because the numbers I'm telling you are a multiplier of minimum wage, these numbers are going to change. If you're looking at this in 2024, the numbers you'll experience when you go to a consulate or any other office to deal with this, or you talk to an immigration specialist, these numbers are going to be lower than what you're going to hear. If somehow you went back to the past, you time traveled back to 2022 or before that, then these numbers are higher than you've heard before. Late last year, Exodus Summit hosted a workshop on how to get residency in Mexico. During that workshop, which I hosted with Adelia from Picky Girl Travels, we talked about the economic solvency requirement numbers for this year, and we tried to guess what they would be. Watch this.
Okay, so here are the requirements for economic solvency as of 2022. Something that you have to understand is that these numbers change every year. They are based off of calculations based on the minimum wage. The new requirements, the new minimum wage will probably be announced late December. It will go into effect January 2023.
Yes. So these are the numbers for this year. Next year's numbers are going to be higher. And I just grabbed my laptop because on my laptop, I have some information that I think can be helpful. People asked us if we know what the numbers are going to be for next year. We don't know.
We don't.
Right? Like people in the government probably don't even know yet. But what we do know is what's happened in the past. So I'm going to read you how the minimum wage, because MW here is minimum wage. So for permanent residency, you need 20 times the current, 220,000 times the current minimum wage.
If you want to qualify based on savings.
Yes.
Y'all will notice there's a different amount, whether you're qualifying for economic solvency based on savings, or if you're doing it based on income, which could be a job or a pension.
Yes. So from 2016 to 2017, minimum wage rose 9%. 2017 to 2018, 10%. 2018 to 2019, 16%. 2019 to 2020, 20%. 2020 to 2021, it increased 15%, and it increased January 2022 by 23%. So it's safe to assume we're not in the 9% anymore, or the 10%. It's safe to assume that these numbers are going to be 20% higher or more next year. Just as we expected, the economic solvency requirements went up by 20% in 2023. Now, here's the thing to know. Every consulate is going to tell you a different number. You will see figures on official Mexican government websites. And then you're going to go into a consulate for your first appointment and you're going to hear a different number. Or you're going to email them, or on their website they have a different number, perhaps even an old number. So don't rely on the numbers I'm telling you. This is a ballpark. This is kind of on average. I'm trying to be as helpful as possible, but I can't tell you what the requirements are going to be in every consulate, because every single consulate is different. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. It's supposed to be one kind of national standard, and it is not. I'm also going to be telling you these numbers in US dollars, not pesos, because it's easier for most of my audience to understand. And these numbers I'm telling you are after tax numbers, not before. All right, so you want to be a temporary resident in Mexico. That means that you are allowed to be here in the country between 1 and 4 years. There's no requirement that you actually stay in Mexico unless you need to be here to renew your residency. Now, the income requirement, the monthly income requirement for temporary residents in 2023 is $3,100 US a month. Like I said, if you've watched my other videos about the process, which I will link here, you know that every consulate is different. I cannot say that enough. You're going to go to some consulate that's going to tell you $3,400, and you're going to go to some consulate that's going to tell you $3,000. They do what they want. They just do what they want. But this is kind of the average across the board, what we're seeing. The other way to qualify for the temporary residency visa under economic solvency is to have a certain amount of money in a savings or investment account for over a year. And what that means is that the dollar amount I'm going to tell you needs to be the average balance in your account over 12 months. So if you have a little higher one month, a little lower one month, it might balance out in some places. Every consulate is different. But if you've only met that requirement for 6 months, not a lot of places are going to accept that. It's worth trying in some places, but it's the only way to find out. In 2023, the amount of money you need to have in a savings or an investment account for temporary residency is $52,000 on average over 12 months. Now, for the monthly income requirement for a permanent residency visa, the amount you would be required to have to qualify under economic solvency is $5,200 a month. Or if you want to try to qualify with savings or investments, you're required to have $207,000 in savings or investments over a 12-month period. Now, income or savings investments, it's either or. You can't qualify with like half of this number and half of this number, or, it's either or, one or the other. You show up with documents showing one, savings, or showing monthly income, pay stubs, but there's no mixing and matching. You can't have like, for permanent residency, $100,000 saved and, $3,000 in monthly income. That's not going to work. One or the other. Those are your numbers. All of those numbers that I just told you are for an individual. If you're coming down as a family, I recommend talking to an immigration facilitator about what it would cost and the best way to do it for your family, because there are some different tips and tricks about how to do it most economically and really get it done without a lot of the bureaucracy, which Mexico is famous for. In the Exodus Summit workshop I hosted for getting residency in Mexico, we list some of our favorite facilitators. So if you want that information, go ahead and get the workshop linked in the description. All right. Now that we've covered the amount of money you need to have to meet the residency requirements, let's talk about what it's going to cost you and a little bit about what the process is. Now, the first part of the application process for residency happens at a consulate outside of Mexico. I went to the Miami office and it was quite terrible. I wouldn't recommend. But back in 2020, when I went, the application fee, I believe, was $44, and now the application fee for residency is $51. That fee is not refundable, so whether you get residency or not, that money's gone. When I applied for residency, I met all the qualifications that were on the Mexican government's website for permanent residency. However, at the Miami office, the man with the power refused to give it to me. He said because I wasn't drawing Social Security, I could not get permanent residency. Now, that meant that I got temporary residency and I got it for 1 year. The fee for getting residency for 1 year, which is what most people get off the bat, is about $266 US. That fee is a fee that you pay in Mexico at the immigration office after you've been approved for your visa. Much more information on the Getting Residency in Mexico workshop that I've listed below. After my 1 year temporary residency was up, I renewed it for 3 more years. So 3 more years of temporary residency. And that cost, let me look it up, that will cost this year in 2023, renewing for 3 years would cost you about $506 US. Once again, you do that at the immigration office in Mexico and you pay that there. For people who are approved at the consulate for permanent residency, when you get to the immigration office in Mexico, you'll have to pay the equivalent of about $325 to get your permanent residency approved. But after that, you don't have to do anything. You're done. Congratulations, you have permanent residency in Mexico for life. Unless you do something for them to take it away from you, and I get the impression that's pretty hard. Remember that I said that the numbers I'm telling you are tied to the minimum wage as of 2023. They're always tied to the minimum wage, and the minimum wage changes every year. It has increased, and this year the minimum wage is up to 207 pesos a day. Yes, that is about $10. What questions do you have about residency in Mexico? Leave them in the comments and I might answer them in the next video. I hope this was helpful, and if it is, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. I'm going to be bringing you more Mexico content all year long. This is my city. It's the one I have selected as my home because I love it so much. There are a ton of great things to do here. You can check all the other videos on my channel for more. I hope this video helped you figure out whether moving to Mexico in 2023 is realistic for you. In the workshop I mentioned before, Getting Residency in Mexico, there are a lot more details. That workshop is just under 3 hours long, so there's a lot of information that I can't cover in this video here, but if you're serious about moving, I think it's for you. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.